Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome. Thank you for joining me here on this live stream. Really cool guest here today. I'll just give it just a second here to make sure we are going live. That way I don't waste his time bringing him in here and to an audience that's not live. So it's always a little funky when we go live, but I think we should be good. I think we're about 3 in a row now, pretty seamless. So that's great. If you are joining me, just drop a hashtag live and let me know that you can hear me and see me. That's great. But just to kind of introduce what we have going on today, I'm going to bring in Alexander Hauser, who is a friend of mine recently. We've met through the digital marketing space. He had me on in his group recently, and we'll talk more about that. But the cool thing about Alexander, hey, what's up, Dawn? Welcome. For all of you who are watching this, Dawn is going to actually, this is really cool that she was the first one who jumped on. She's going to actually be interviewed next week to talk about some of her breakthroughs as a new affiliate marketer seeing success. So we'll talk to her next week. So make sure you join us then. What's up, Robert and Jeff? Welcome. But anyways, we're going to bring on Alexander. What's really cool about Alexander is, so he does affiliate marketing. He's an authority on affiliate marketing. I do affiliate marketing, have seen a little bit of success as well. But the way we do affiliate marketing, the way we approach business, really a digital business, just as simple as that, we go about things a little bit differently. So that's really, really cool. We jumped on about a minute late here today because he was giving me a preview of a really awesome slide presentation that he put together. So very grateful for him to do that for us. So it's going to be a great interview. I'm super excited to bring him on. And really what we're going to talk about in a nutshell is, I'm sure we'll go deeper, but he's going to show us how to leverage Facebook, right? How to network and how to really get in there and get the most out of the platform. So he's definitely more of an expert on this than I am. So I'm super happy to bring him in here today. So it looks like everybody's hearing me and seeing me. So without further ado, let's go ahead and bring Alexander into the interview here today. Alexander, welcome. Thank you so much, buddy.
Hey, man. How you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you today?
I'm doing great, bud. And welcome to everybody that's on the live with us and that's catching the replay. I'm so glad and humbled to be in your community and able to hopefully help provide some value to your folks.
Yeah, and I'm absolutely 100% sure that you will bring a ton of value. I'm actually really excited to get you in here for about 45 minutes here today, because like I said in the introduction, what you do is quite a bit different than the way I approach business or marketing or affiliate marketing or whatever you want to call it. So I'm certain that I'm going to learn quite a few things here today. I'm really excited. I think it can help take my business to the next level and kind of really tap into an arena that maybe I've been overlooking so far. So I'm really excited. First of all, let's talk about this. You're not. I don't believe you're 20 years old. That's correct. You may have a few years more experience in life than that.
I'm a couple months away from being 40, Brian.
Okay, actually. Cool. So you're about the same age as I am. So the reason I bring that up is you went to high school really without the internet. I mean, it was in its infancy. You entered the workforce probably without the internet. You saw the .com boom in the 2000s, but that was nothing more than fancy domain names and such. So you kind of grew up like I did before the internet, so to speak. So how'd you get into digital marketing? Like, what does that transition look like for you?
Yeah, so just to date myself a little bit, I was like talking to my 11-year-old niece about like what a rotary phone was the other day and remembering them in my childhood. So, but yeah, man. And so I really started to, obviously, I originally came onto Facebook to help grow the brand of the rugby program that I was coaching at Arkansas State University. And that was kind of at the point when basically everybody had a Facebook account and people would be like, man, you're really weird that you don't have one. That makes me, and I was single at the time. And when I was dating ladies, they're like, that makes me think you're really shady. And so it was killing my dating life, but I didn't really care. But I wanted to grow my, the presence in the community and online for my rugby program, because we had a great program. We had some really, really great kids in the program. And I wanted just to start to tell their story, and obviously also to help, eventually attract some sponsorship money and stuff like that, which we were able to. So that was kind of my first start of like leveraging and marketing on Facebook. But really, I kind of came back to it when I was working in San Francisco, and San Francisco is the most like expensive city in the world in terms of percentage of disposable income spent on rent. And I was working as a rugby coach, which rugby not being in one of the predominant sports in the U.S., you don't make much of a living doing it, but it's one of my passions. And so I started working as a personal trainer in the financial district, basically where all the tall buildings are in San Francisco. And so San Francisco being the mecca of like tech on the West Coast, at least, a lot of my clients were working for startups or had worked for startups. And so just seeing, one of my earliest clients, this awesome guy, Chris, one of the most emotionally intelligent people I've ever met in my life, and one of the best leaders I've ever met in my life. He worked for Twitch. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Twitch or not, Brian.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And they were started as kind of gaming, right? And then they
Yeah,
got
so
bought out by Amazon.
Yeah, and so they started with gaming, and so when he started work, he was like one of their first 20 employees, which I came to learn that's like a really big deal, like what number employee you were in tech
I'm
startups.
familiar with it with the Facebook, like he's Facebook number 9 or whatever.
Yeah. So it's like a badge of honor for him because they're like, yo, I'm an OG. And usually that means they're probably pretty high up in the company too. But I had no idea that Chris was like on the executive board for Twitch until I started to meet other people at Twitch, because he was just such a humble dude. And they'd be like, Chris is really important. You know that, right? I'm like, is he? He seems like a really nice guy and so laid back. And also too, he works for a tech company, and he's like my age, and he leaves wearing skinny jeans and like skateboard shoes and like a backwards hat every day after we do our training session in the morning. But it was crazy to see him because he told me about the growth of the company. And when I was his trainer, the 3 years I was his trainer, they went from 200 employees to 400 employees to 800 employees. So that's like seeing, and also too, they got bought by Amazon for a couple $2 billion during that time. So it's like, wow, that's the power of being online. And so that was really kind of what, and then also too, being a personal trainer, I think probably you were familiar with your background as working in the service industry and restaurants and stuff like that. You get an appreciation for exchanging time for money doing that stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're working for every dollar. You feel every dollar that you earn.
And when you ain't working, you ain't getting paid.
That's right. Yeah, there's no vacation days.
Yeah, and so it really hit home when I wanted to take this vacation with me and the woman I was dating at the time, and basically I just couldn't do it. Not because of the money it was going to cost; it was going to be the opportunity cost, and because we didn't have paid vacation. And so then that was really when I started to look into like, hey, I need to have some form of online presence.
Right. So when you decided, okay, cool, obviously the internet's where the money's at or what have you, in the simplest of terms, I need to do something because either I need the opportunity to be able to not make money at my, personal training business, or B, simply maybe exit out of that someday. What was your first idea? Like, where did you gravitate towards first?
So it took me a while to get there, Brian, to be honest, because I took a job for the financial arm of one of the largest companies in the world that's in the auto industry. And I was like, okay, well, I just need a good paying job so that way I have enough money, so that way I feel comfortable finding a woman and finding a wife and starting a family, and that I'll have like some sort of time and basically safety net. And so basically it was a huge mistake. It was, made out from a place of fear. And it didn't give me, and basically they like kind of made all these promises and then none of them happened. And also I wasn't in a position to use what my two biggest strengths are, which is like my leadership skills from my coaching background and my sales experience. And so that basically, I kind of initially gravitated towards like the FBSA thing. But that was right. It was like when COVID broke out over in China, and like on the internal chat boards of this program I was kind of vetting, everyone was like, hey, my factory's closed and like all this sort of stuff. And that was like, all right, I don't want to do this because one, I don't really want to sell like some gimmicky $20 product just to make money. And also two, like, wow, I probably need to do digital products. So that's when I started to research. I got hit with a Dave Sharp masterful retargeting ad, and that was my introduction to affiliate marketing. So
right. So at first it was that avoidance of risk that kind of took you into the safe job, right? Yeah. So I think that's important to understand. I'm glad you brought that up because, you do have to kind of take a leap of faith when you do something maybe you've never done before, or, you start taking that free time that gave you the sanity to go to your job and start applying that to some sort of business. And you mentioned that this is kind of COVID time. So kind of February, March of 2020. Is that kind of the idea when you first got, really, I guess, introduced to the world of high ticket affiliate marketing, whether that be through some of the other big names in the space, like Jacob Karras, or even Legendary Marketer, which is how I first got to know or heard of Jacob Karras as well. So you get into Legendary Marketer, you hear about Legendary Marketer, you see Dave Sharp talking about the opportunity of high ticket affiliate marketing, digital products, right? Most of the people watching this have entered the world of the 15-day challenge and Legendary Marketer. They understand the draw of high ticket, definitely understand the draw of digital products with low margins, really zero fulfillment costs. You see the opportunity. What's your first instinct? Like, okay, obviously we need to sell this, or is it more like we need to build an audience, or like where do you go from there?
So my thing was, because I do have a pretty extensive athletic coaching background. I'm a rugby guy. And then also because eventually I started coaching personal trainers on how to build their business. I didn't need to be sold on the value of good coaching. And also too, I understand as a coach, and particularly having coached high level male athletes, that like you let your ego get in the way as an athlete. Cause I totally did it when I was a player. I was like a coach's nightmare in a lot of ways. When you like step on the field and you're like, hey, I know coach told us to do this, but like, let's do this because it's going to be way better, and then so I knew like, hey, work the plan because the plan works, kind of thing. So I just listened to what I was coached to do in the programs that I initially joined.
Excellent. So you took what was proven, I guess, and simply applied it. So I guess this is kind of getting into a good segue of really turning it over to you, so you can really help provide us with some insight as to what it is that you do. One thing that I caught earlier in the interview, and this is when you were talking about the gentleman from Twitch. I don't remember what you said his name was. Chris, employee number 20 over at Twitch. You talked about how he was kind of laid back, how he was kind of unassuming. And when you interviewed me a few weeks back, you kind of said the same thing about me, but really what that led us to is kind of a belief that, there's sales tactics, but really, I guess people are people, right? Yeah. And, you if you treat people like people and you also, apply certain strategies, I'm sure, then you're going to have a lot more success than just going down and forcing a sales message down somebody's throat. Can you kind of give us a little bit of insight, like into your thought process when, okay, hey, we're going to sell something to somebody. What does that look like? And if it's a good time to go into your presentation, that's fine as well. But also, how do you get to the point where you actually have the opportunity to sell someone? Because I think that's what a lot of people struggle with is we all understand we have to create content to attract eyeballs, but how do we get to the point where we're taking content, starting that conversation, and then eventually getting to the point where we get the conversion, which is, of course, the sale, which makes us the money?
Yeah, for sure. And so, so it's like the science and the art and philosophy, right? So it's a three-legged stool. And, kind of some of the tactics you alluded to is a little bit more of the science, right? And then it's much more art, than it is science or philosophy, I feel like. And so I'm like an anti-sales script guy. And so I started developing this framework for just having engaging conversations when I was like a teenager, because I was super painfully shy when I was a teenager, especially when I got around a girl that I thought was cute and all this sort of stuff. And one day when I was like 15 or 16, I had this like really big crush on this on this girl for a long time. And like my buddies were like, hey dude, she says she likes you, but like you never talked to her. So finally one day I like worked up all my courage and just sat and actually talked to her. And then like amazingly we started dating. And I was like, wow, this talking to people thing really works. And so I just started to apply that into into having conversations when I met new people so I could feel comfortable and not be so shy. And then once I got into like a sales context, I started to put it into a framework. So really the framework that I've created and that we teach in our programs, it's just a framework to have like an engaging conversation to accomplish all of the things that you said, like to make people, like we've all been there when you're like, in Messenger or even in person or on the phone or whatever, you're like, okay, I just entered their sales script. And sales scripts to me are linear. A framework is dynamic, and humans are dynamic. Human conversations are dynamic. And so in order to be dynamic in your conversation and not be like, oh my God, we went off script, I need to get them back on script. You just have a framework and just genuinely just talk to somebody.
Yeah. So it's obvious that what you do works, because when you first started really with high ticket affiliate marketing, so to speak, you saw some pretty good results pretty quickly, right? I mean, you saw some pretty good numbers.
Yeah. So, I mean, I started doing like the organic marketing thing March 27th when I bought into JC's program. And then like by April, and 30 days later, I'd made like over $11,000.
Right. So it's very powerful. And that's what I think is so cool about bringing you into this interview is I'm more of a, hey, let's build out these systems that organically drive traffic. Let's get people into a funnel, so to speak. And let's really build something massive. The thing is it takes time to build. Like I just noticed Jamar Jones jumped into the chat and said, afternoon, gentlemen. Jamar Jones is a perfect example. He's been following me for a long time, since beginning of 2019. He's doing well now, and I'm sure he wants to do better, don't we all? But he's doing very well, and with affiliate marketing. And his thing was he just worked the program. He basically said, I'm going to play the long game. And he put in the work without seeing the results for 6 months. Then he started seeing results and more results, and the snowball effect starts to kick in. But I understand that that's hard for people, especially when like you need to see results faster than 6 months from now. So I kind of just want to turn it over to you and really, hopefully maybe you can help us understand like what this framework looks like. Like, how do we get to the point where we meet somebody on Facebook, we take them through a process, and all of a sudden they're going to buy something from us? I mean, obviously it doesn't happen overnight, but what does that look like?
Yeah. So no, that's a great point, Brian. And there's a lot of great points in what you said. You're a brilliant guy. And so you always make a lot of great points. And so y'all should listen to Brian because he knows what he's talking about. And so basically what the first point that you made is that there's more than one path to the mountaintop. And the biggest thing is that you chose a path and you stuck with it. I chose a path and I stuck with it. Most people hop past, and that ain't a road. You ain't getting nowhere up the mountain if you keep hopping trails. And so the other thing that I realized too is, so you were building long-term assets, and you're right in that you needed to build up the potential energy, just like Jamar did, and then you have your breakthrough down the road. For me, I expressed that I wasn't happy with the job in the industry that I was in. And I was in so much pain, so to speak, because I wanted to stop the feelings of being an absentee son, brother, and mostly uncle, because my oldest nephew turned 13 this year. And that was like a huge wake up call for me. And I'm like, man, I've missed so many precious moments of this kid's life. And he's going to be an adult soon. And I don't want him just to be like, oh, that's my Uncle Alexander. I talk to him on the phone every once in a while. And also too, I was like, I knew, this isn't an ego thing. I think everybody is, you shouldn't refer to yourself as average or normal. That's negative self-talk. And I have been fortunate that I had achieved some things to that point in my life that I was really proud of. And I felt like if I maintained the status quo internally and externally, people would be like, hey, he did some cool things when he was younger, but then like he didn't really do anything great. And so the story of my life would be one of unfulfilled potential. And I wasn't having that. So I wanted to leave my job, and the easiest way to do that was to build to leverage the short-term assets that I had at my disposal, and basically just leverage the power of Facebook and high ticket affiliate marketing. So that way I could get enough money for me to feel safe to leave my job.
Got it. So, I mean, what I'm hearing there is just no matter how you do it, as you said, there's different ways to the top of the mountain, but there is a proven strategy. And basically that is first you have to have the confidence in yourself. And then you have to choose a path, hopefully a proven path, and go all in on that proven path.
And you got to believe in your damn self too.
Yeah.
And like have a support, like, a support network and stuff like that. And so, yeah, I mean, it just depends on your situation. If I remember correctly, I think that you kind of liked working in the service industry, but also too, I'm single, never married, and ain't got no kids. And I think that was not your situation. So you needed a much bigger and deeper safety net. So, you could provide and for your family, keep a roof over their head and clothes on their back and food on the table. I just have me to worry about and look after. So my threshold for me to be able to have enough of a safety net to leave my job was much lower than other folks. So there's just a little bit, like, again, just evaluating my circumstances and being like, hey, these are the strengths I'm stepping into this new arena. Just because it's new don't mean I just all of a sudden become stupid and forget everything I've ever experienced in my life. These are my strengths that I know are core skills that are required to be successful. So I'm just going to leverage the hell out of them when I first step into it, while I upskill myself in the other ones that are successful, that you're required for long-term success, like you've achieved for yourself.
Yeah. I mean, that's a great point. And I can't think of a time where I've heard someone put it like that, but yeah, the internet, is new to some people, especially if it's your first time, but it's still life, right?
Yeah.
Like it's still, you can build off your experience and leverage what's already inside of you. You can leverage the experience you've had in life to really give, I guess, like a competitive advantage. Is that correct?
And so I think so, yeah, especially because really what we're doing, Brian, is we're doing personal branding.
Yeah.
Personal branding. Sorry, I sounded super Southern when I said that. I've been back in Georgia now. They're coming back.
There's people here looking like, what did he say?
Yeah, they're like, wait.
No, I'm following here. So personal branding. Yeah. I mean, that's really what it is. I mean, that's the opportunity of the internet, is to reach people. Right. There's no magic like money making machine. It's not a magic ATM that spits out cash. It's just the ability to communicate at scale and build up your brand. And as a matter of fact, so you've recently partnered, not recently, but a few, 4, 5, 6 months ago, recently partnered with some other folks, Evan and Eugene, who are also fairly new to the game, but seeing success and happen to be very good at personal branding. So how'd you get hooked up with them? And then after that, y'all have something pretty cool coming up. It starts this Monday. Is that correct?
That's right, man. This coming Monday on the 26th. So Evan Huge, I'm the adopted affiliate brother. And we always joke. And
that's what their brand is. They're the affiliate brothers.
That was their brand. And so once I stepped in, we made it the affiliate family, just to keep it congruent. And make it more inclusive of now that we were building a community and technically being like leaders of the community. But no, so when I first stepped into it, they were starting to get some traction in their business. And so they were starting to make some noise in their business. And obviously we all know, like, the results post, are eye catching. And also too, they were doing interviews, with folks like Dave and JC and stuff like that. So they came in front of me, and it was funny, we talk about, like, I knew my biggest barrier, particularly when I decided I was going to do the organic marketing thing, was that, like, I didn't have a profile picture when I first started affiliate marketing. And, I would post like once a year, and my mom and like my aunts and everything would be like, oh my God, you're alive. I'm like, yes, Mom, I'm alive. She's like, why haven't you called me? I'm like, this is exactly why I don't ever post, Mom. And so, and it's funny because I reached out to Evan and Eugene because I saw on their interviews that they were just like, and I saw from externally. And so this is my thing. You need to do this imperfect action thing. It's not, yes, there's an element of you need to do that because you need to not get out of your own way and like not have your own hang-ups.
You do need to just get started.
Yeah.
But just getting started, throwing stuff up without a plan is not good.
No, it's terrible. It's a road to like wasting a lot of money and probably you quitting. And so I know, being a little bit more experienced, we'll say, than those fellas, and also being a coach and stuff like that, you do some strategic thinking. So I'm like, all right, well, hey, these fellas are like, I was like, all right, if these two young fellas on the other side of the world can do it, I know for damn sure I can. And so let me see what what they're doing. And so they were great at documenting their journey and at like, building loyalty and building their brand. And I was like, man, these guys are really smart with the affiliate brothers angle.
And they're basically, I mean, they're doing this all on Facebook, right?
All on Facebook. Yeah. All on Facebook.
So I use Facebook as a tool, and obviously I have this Facebook group where I try to support as many people as possible. But I mean, that's where I guess, I don't want to say I've missed out because I've been fortunate enough to see some success, but like, I don't think I have a good conceptual idea or plan of how I would, go and use Facebook to grow a huge personal brand.
So it's fairly simple. And so like the vehicle that the 5 steps that we have, and we just continue the conversation, Brian, and then I can do like an expedited, because this conversation's great, and I can do an expedited run through of the slide deck I showed you before we started. And so really we have a 5-step framework. It's basically decide. So basically pick an offer. And then and our big promise for our program is to help people build, cultivate, monetize, and scale an audience to $10,000 or more in 6 months or less, because that's what we
cultivate, and scale.
Build, cultivate, monetize, scale.
Monetize.
And so the AKAs for those are basically just like lead gen, marketing, sales, and systems, which is obviously, you have done a great job for yourself in building systems and long-term assets, because it makes your life easier and it makes things repeatable. And then also too, you can put it on autopilot, so to speak. I'm not a fan of that term, but
right. We don't like to use that, but there are things that kind of run on their own, but if you just forgot about them for the rest of your life, they would die rather quickly.
My pops was a pilot, and he's like, there's not like a magic button we push. You still gotta pay. And so, yeah, man. And so basically, they were really good at the building and the cultivating. And I was really good at the monetizing. And so we could just kind of buddied up. I made him some money. I think I bought JC's program through them. Despite the fact that Evan at first was like, is this dude even real? He doesn't even have a profile picture. And like, he has like no post on his profile. I fully looked
a little skeptical, huh?
Yeah, I looked like a Bitcoin scammer or something. And so, I bought into that. We just kind of ideated and exchanged ideas originally. And then, they, as I said, were on that upward trajectory, hitting that upward slope of that. Sorry, I went the wrong way with my hand. The upward exponential. Yeah, there we go. Of that growth, they were hitting the upward slope of that exponential growth curve that we all hope to hit, and that you obviously have done for yourself as well. And so, I was just behind them, because I was able to step in and get those quick results that you alluded to earlier. And then basically after Evan, because Evan he tells me he's competitive, and I'm like, yeah, sure, kid. Like, and I pat him on the head from across the world and be like, I'm going to show you competitive.
You ever played rugby?
Yeah. I was like, tell me again how your athletic career peaked in high school, dude. And so I was like, so we had this like kind of friendly competition. And then he's like, dude, I see your name like every other day. Like, how are you making these sales? You just started. He's like, we started 9 months ago, and like, it took us forever. Like, what are you doing? And so I showed him, and like the way that I was doing sales, because I wasn't doing what I was taught, because not that there's anything wrong with using sales scripts. I had enough sales experience proven using my sales framework that we discussed earlier. And so I showed them that, and Evan was like, yo, this is different. And I'm like, yeah, man, it's better to be different than it is to be better. And he's like, oh, so how can I do this in our business? I was like, so send me some screenshots of your sales conversations. And then basically him and Huge and I jumped on a Zoom call, and I just did like a messenger conversation analysis. And they're like, wow, like that's really different. And that's really good. They're like, and so they helped me with how to be better with my marketing and my lead gen. And I helped them how to be more efficient and up their close rate.
So Messenger is a very powerful sales tool. Before I went back to the 100% affiliate marketing model this year, I was doing coaching and really basically just coaching, a little bit of quote unquote agency work, but for the most part, it was just coaching. And 90% of my sales were closed in Messenger, and it really wasn't incredibly difficult. It didn't take a whole lot of time, and it was just really powerful. But I think I've talked about this a couple times already. I think the way people struggle, or the place people struggle, is getting those conversations started. Like, can you give us an idea what that looks like?
Yeah. So, this is where a little bit more of the strategic thinking comes into play. So you need to understand, it's especially for, I think in a lot of our audiences, we've got relative beginners. And so if you continuously pitch to a cold audience, pretty damn soon you ain't gonna have an audience. So you need to understand the temperature of your audience overall and the appropriate messaging for them at that temperature. And then when you're in Messenger and in a conversation, you need to understand the temperature of that lead specific. So macro and micro thinking. Mm-hmm. And then also too, you need to understand that, like, hey, the key to effective sales is good marketing. And so you need to have, be under like appropriate calls to action for the temperature of your overall audience overall, excuse me. And so like really what we, like an example of that would be, if you're a new beginner, you should be building an asset like your Facebook group, because then you're also building your email list. So your calls to action early on should be to invite people to your Facebook group and grow that asset, because that's a long-term asset that is wholly in line with the mission of Facebook right now. Like earlier this year during the Super Bowl, we all of us in America know how expensive Super Bowl ads are. And for the folks that don't, it's like multiple 7, probably even 8 figures for like a 90-second spot.
Right, Facebook, yeah.
And hey, Facebook runs the world, so they got a bit of money to burn. And I got to bet their advertising budget, they weren't having to pitch that they had too hard that they wanted a Super Bowl spot. That spot that they paid probably several $1 million for was about Facebook groups. So that tells you directly, like, hey, we're doubling down on groups. And it makes sense because groups keep people highly value community, especially now in these unique times that we're in. And if you have a highly engaged community, you're keeping people on the platform. And like, let's be real, the point of every business is to make money. And Facebook being a public company, they're accountable to their shareholders. So the more engaged of a group you have, the more people are going to be on the platform, the more they can make money advertising.
Right. And so as a result, if you create that engaged group, then Facebook's going to be like, we want more people like the folks already in there to be in that group.
Yeah, hell yeah. And it's basically a race to like, okay. And from my understanding of it's like a 2-part equation. It's how many folks are in the group and then how engaged it is. The engagement obviously being more important, because if you got a group of 10,000 people and it's just tumbleweeds in there, and like they ain't gonna do it. But so basically it's a race to get to where Facebook starts to populate you in the suggested groups. So that's where like some of the stuff that you would be more of an expert at in terms of your YouTube background, like keywords and stuff like that in your titles and your description. So if somebody searches affiliate marketing in the thing, they're going to start to populate it. And then basically that means that Facebook's doing your lead generation for you.
And yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. That's the power of it. And that's what can you leverage? Like, that's what I always try to visualize and discover and teach is leverage what's available. Don't do what's hard. Look where you can push the ball down the hill and see some movement right there. And TikTok being one of them right now. You can go on TikTok and just get tons of traffic. So we're talking a lot about TikTok these days, but also Facebook groups. I mean, it's basically, that's what they want. let's figure out how to work that to our advantage, not try to, as I said, push the stone up the hill, right?
Yeah, because regardless of the platform, the core principles are the same. And then just what you alluded to is like you figure out, hey, what's the mission of this platform and how can I support it? And now I'm going to apply the core principles of effective marketing to this platform.
Yeah. So I think that was very key what you said about, knowing your audience. That's so key. Like a call to action can be an invitation to the group. If that's the point where your audience is at, then that's a great call to action. That's the right call to action. So to kind of answer the question, I guess you just really have to give the right call to action for the temperature of the audience. I mean, that's exactly what you said, but that's as simple as that, right?
Yeah, it's like, when you're at work and you walk into somebody's office, you got to know the temperature of the room, right? And it's all that.
If somebody's ready to buy, make them an offer. If they're not ready to buy, offer them something else, right?
Hell yeah. If somebody's ready to give you money, like don't let them off the phone or don't let their attention get distracted. Like get their damn money, before they and that's not a like scammy thing. That's like, you ain't ever going to make money if you're like, oh, hey, you gave me a verbal commitment. Right. Cool. I'll see you later. And so, yeah, man. And then, so I think it's just, again, just kind of alluding to the key points of like a bit of strategic thinking beforehand. And we all know in life, a little bit of planning before, just like you probably do something similar to what I do, Brian, is like you take 5 to 10 minutes in the morning and be like, all right, these are the things that are essential for me. These are my non-negotiables for the day to make sure my business moves forward. And then, hey, here's a few things that would be nice to have, but they're not need to haves. So that way, if I accomplish the 4 or 5 things I set for myself, I know my business moved forward that day. And if life pops up, then, and I need to go for, your circumstance, I need to, fulfill my husband duties or fulfill my daddy duties. Or like, hey, I just want to chill for the rest of the day, which is kind of the whole point of us becoming entrepreneurs anyway.
Yeah. So let me share that really quickly, because you mentioned the first thing in the morning, how you kind of set things up. And then I think we're going to kind of twist your arm to give us a little preview of this, this free workshop that you have coming up. But basically what I do in the morning before I look at my cell phone, this is while I'm still waiting in bed. The first thing I do is I do 4 things. The first thing I do is I think about something I'm grateful for. That gets you in the right mindset. Then the next thing I do is I think about 3 wins that I had from the day before. What are 3 things that I did that moved the needle, whether they be big or small? And what that does is that goes back to what you were talking about earlier, is that gives you the confidence, that gives you the belief that you could achieve something. Then it's like, okay, what 3 things do I want to accomplish today that's going to move my business forward? And then finally, it's like, what's the one thing that I want to do after all that's done today in order to kind of reward myself?
Yeah, so awesome.
Yeah. But anyway, so just to kind of really hammer this point home, you coming up here starting Monday, the 26th, your partners, Evan and Eugene, are going to offer a workshop. And we'll get links and descriptions and all that stuff. But basically, if you want to get a part of this free workshop, which is going to be hosted on Facebook, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Then I'll go ahead and put a link in the description, but it's going to be at brianbrewer.com/workshop. And if you head over there, you'll be able to get registered for free. That way you're ready to start on October 26th, where you're going to basically reveal a framework. Is that kind of the idea here that is going to help people with their business?
Yeah, we're going to do a deep dive into each of those 5 steps.
All right. And
to be transparent, we're going to do a pitch at the end. I think everybody knows that about.
I think everybody knows how this works. Yeah. After the value comes the pitch, right?
Yeah.
Right. And so you can maybe give us a little idea what that's going to look like, so people can decide if they're interested, what they can expect to learn.
Yeah,
hopefully.
For sure, man. I'll share my screen here. And then I'll give, I guess, what's going to be, because of our awesome conversation that we're having, a little bit of an expedited presentation here. But just let me know, Brian, when you can see my screen.
I think we're good. It looks good. And seeing the home screen there of the Dream It, Believe It, Achieve It. And one brother looks maybe a little bit different. I guess he's adopted, but
So I just got him in here. In the foreground, we've got Evan. He's the younger of the affiliate brothers. If you guys have talked to him in Messenger, that's the one you're talking to. And Eugene here in the background. And so kind of our story, we kind of alluded to this already. So I'll just kind of move past this. But basically, it's that I had always wanted to be an entrepreneur. And being a team sport athlete and a coach my whole life, knew I needed a team to do it. And Evan Huge have all these funny stories about all these, like Eugene even moved to South Korea to work for like this startup. And then he came back, and then him and Evan tried to like peddle Korean beauty products in Hong Kong and all that sort of stuff. But I felt really great about these guys. And like I said, this is a screenshot of my gratitude journal that I do each night, similar to what Brian alluded to. I have a morning routine similar to what he described, and I have an evening routine as well. And so this was the entry I made on Monday, April 6th. That's a significant date because that was the date I earned my first commissions, and I made $1,600 off of 2 sales. And so, everybody can read that here. But the other thing that's significant to this is that a week later to the date, the following Monday, April the 13th, we agreed to become business partners. And Evan's got this funny story about how I was like, hey man, do you have time for a 5-minute call? And then 90 minutes later, he was agreeing to be a business partner with this guy he had never met that lived on the other side of the world. And a little bit about our journey. We basically just made this to help us, leverage the 5-step framework that we created together to help us, scale a 6-figure business in less than 1 year. Evan and Eugene, in combination with their affiliate marketing revenues that they made for themselves earlier this year, are up like around above $150,000 that they've made for themselves this year. And
so
then
they've struggled in the past. They've definitely, this is not their first deal. They've tried some things that failed, but now they're starting to get it figured out, and that's the power of what happens when you do get it figured out. Huh?
Yes, for sure. And also too, the deeper lessons there. And Brian, you would probably speak to this. Like most startups, like Google and all that stuff, they didn't start with what they're currently at. So you need to be willing to pivot early in your business and adopt strategies, and not fall victim to like the sunken cost fallacy, excuse me, and basically be like, I need to earn my money back before I do this thing. If you already know, like, this ain't working.
It's okay to admit failure and pivot.
Yes, for sure. Because then you're going to basically, the opportunity cost is going to cost you even more money, time, effort, and energy, and distress. So really, these are just basically like the identity shift that we had, because I stepped into affiliate marketing knowing I didn't want to be an affiliate marketer my whole life. There's absolutely nothing wrong with affiliate marketing. I just love coaching. And so I wanted to do that. And so I basically, like I said, wanted just to do affiliate marketing to leave my job that I did not enjoy, and also too, just to establish a little bit of authority in the online space and make a bit of money. So my thing was like, hey, this $10,000 a month benchmark seems to be like the gold standard. So me being the competitive person that I am, I'm like, I'm just going to hit it faster than anybody else has, kind of thing. But
that's the thing, you set that goal, and it's amazing what that goal, setting that goal in your mind, like it's your brain will constantly work towards that goal, even when you're not thinking about it. It's crazy.
And that's the thing that I do for myself, Brian, when I set goals, is I set a realistic goal, a stretch goal, and a dream goal. So my realistic goal when I first started was to leave my corporate job in 2 years. My stretch goal was to do it in a year. And my dream goal was to do it within 6 months. I was able to do it in 2 months, in part because I had that delayed gratification mindset that like, hey, if I do this and in 2 years I'm able to leave my job, it'll be worth it. But like, hey, also too, it's like, I don't really like this and I want to get out of the situation as quickly as possible. So I'm going to set goals. And so basically I set a realistic goal that I would be very happy if I achieved, but I work towards achieving the dream goal. Does that make sense, man?
It makes perfect sense. Yeah. Cool. Yep. Absolutely.
And so just kind of to touch on our 5-step framework here. And we'll be, again, guys, doing a deeper dive into this. So the first step is basically decide. So this is basically, pick an offer. And I know Brian's group, so I don't need to hammer home the low ticket versus high ticket thing. But basically, it's just like, hey, it's way easier to get to $10,000 a month making $1,000 a sale than it is $100 a sale. It's just simple math. And this little screenshot in the corner is the first ever commission that Evan Huge made. $18.27, which they probably spent like $1,000 during that commission. And then the second one is build. So this is building your audience. And basically that, like, hey, you need to have an audience, and you need them to be loyal. So like alluding to the points that Brian illuminated for us earlier of like, treat them right. and don't just try to pimp them. And that like you're having an audience and a loyal one is what can help you sustain your business and consistently be able to make money. And in our opinion, Facebook is the best platform for beginners because everybody already has a Facebook account. You know how to make a post and all that sort of stuff. And like your best asset is the group. So the way that I frame it, Brian, is that the group is the heart, and then that your profile is like the lifeblood. Hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah, that does. So it is, you talk about the Facebook group being the heart. I've done trainings in the past where I talk about my ABC content formula. And basically, B content is the heart. That's the middle of everything. And that's where you cultivate that relationship. I use Facebook and YouTube, but everything else is kind of bringing into that heart. And so you don't have to, I mean, there's people in my Facebook group right now watching this in my Facebook group. So I think we really need to hammer home the power of starting your own Facebook group. And if everybody's doing it, or, if we're both doing it, it's probably a good thing to do, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
And all the people that are a hell of a lot more successful than us are doing it too. So
that's what I mean. That's why I finally gave in and said, well, shoot, look how much they're doing. I got to get me one of those. Basically.
Yeah, exactly. And you use the word cultivate, Brian. So you're just a natural, because that's the next step in our framework. And I don't think you knew that. And so this goes back to what we talked about. Biggest mistake is that people try to pitch immediately. We've all been hit with like this super long, like, hey, I just accepted your friend request, and now you're sending me this like short essay with like 3 different offers in it. And that's clearly came from a bot. And then also too, the best way to convert cold strangers to like loyal raving fans, basically your own version of your hype men or women, is that you need to do it with effective and consistent content. And the formula for winning content. So this is kind of my like sciencey geeky side. I don't think you know this about me, Brian, but I've got a master's in exercise and sports science, and I've also got my doctorate in chiropractic. So I've got a lot of knowledge about human physiology and stuff. So after like learning more about the online digital marketing, the concept that I came up with was, hey, this is really like the double helix structure of DNA. So this is the cellular structure of DNA for those folks that don't know. And so basically like one ribbon here, so this blue ribbon is the value you're providing to your audience. The second ribbon is your personal story. And basically the link bridges are how your personal story relates to the value that you're providing your audience. Because as humans, we remember stories a lot more. And so if I'm told value in a story format, I'm probably going to retain it much better. But if I'm told value in a story format with Brian Brewer's personal story, then I remember, hey, Brian taught me that. And then I become loyal. And just like your cellular structure of your DNA, it's unique to you and only you. So is your personal story. So that's how you do brand building. Does that make sense, man?
That's huge with affiliate marketing, because we're all promoting the same products out here, but guess what? We can use that to our advantage as people become familiar. And then when we weave our story, then we attach ourselves to that product.
And so just to look at the layers deeper here, I'm a coach, so I look at layers in life. Brian, can we just pause for a minute? So this goes back to some of the core concepts we talked about earlier. So this thing. So I stepped into the arena with 3 professional degrees and a ton of student loan debt. So, and I didn't keep the sunken cost fallacy of, hey, I paid money for these degrees. I need to do those things. And the other layer is that like, hey, you've got other passions. You're a unique and beautiful human being. I get to serve my passion of like being kind of science geeky when it comes to human physiology. And now I get to help our students like understand like, hey, how do I make effective content by nurturing my science geeky side? Does that make sense, man?
That's awesome, man. So you probably got, let's see, I want to be respectful of your time here. I know you have other things to do.
Yeah, we just got a couple more slides here, man. Thank you for keeping me on track, because I can't see the clock.
Absolutely.
So thanks.
I'd keep in here all day because I'm learning so much, and it's great talking to you, but I know you have things to do too. So,
yeah, it's all good, man.
I'll let you move on.
I appreciate the kind words. So Monetize, the AKA is just sales. And so as Brian alluded to, the way he monetizes is mostly through funnels, and there ain't anything wrong with funnels. But and also, as he alluded to too, and as we've talked about, Messenger is a really effective way. And now that we made probably our first 100K in our business with just a checkout page. And so now, obviously, that we want to scale our business and stuff like that, we're basically using Messenger to push people to the funnel and let the funnel do like the nurturing and warming up and all that sort of stuff.
But just to be clear, you basically were talking to people on Messenger, and once they were ready to buy, you sent them out to a pretty basic generic checkout page, and and that's how you collected the revenue.
Like super basic. It had like a picture of Evan and Eugene, a picture of me, and like 5 points of like the 5 key points of our product, and then like, hey, here's where the info you fill out your money to fill out.
Right, here's where, yeah.
And so basically, the fastest way to make money is to connect and have a normal conversation with your audience, just like Brian alluded to. And this, I can't close the person in Messenger. If you can have a conversation, you can close people in Messenger. And then basically the final step is scale. So the AKA for this is systems. Brian did a great job of building systems for himself. And as he's calm, cool, and collected, guys, because he knows his business can run very efficiently and very well for him. And so the sooner you can start to implement systems into your business, regardless of the path to the mountaintop you're taking, that's the key to scaling your business, and also to not stressing yourself the hell out. And it's what means like one-time luck, because we are doing high ticket affiliate marketing. So the commission is just one time. I have yet to find anything that's the unicorn of like high ticket recurring revenue. If you know any, Brian, tell me.
The thing about recurring revenue is that really you can only expect 4 months of it anyways, regardless. Yeah, so cool. if it's $100 a month, you can expect that to be a $400 commission, right? Okay. So it's just pretty much how you look at everything anyways. So yeah, there is no one's going to pay $1,000 a month for the rest of your life that I know of.
Unless you're like Tony Robbins or something.
Yeah, exactly.
And we ain't that yet, hopefully. And so thank you for providing that insight, Brian. I know, and congrats, dude, on crossing the dream car thing. I know when I interviewed you, you were at like 99 and super excited.
Yeah.
I'm kind of hoping it would happen on the interview, but I'm happy for you anyway, man, because you deserve it. And so basically, when you're doing this one-time commissions, you need consistent results. So the systems help you do that. And so really the identity shift here that's really powerful is you need to step into it and be like, hey, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a business owner. I'm not an affiliate marketer. Affiliate marketing might just be my first or my next successful entrepreneurial venture. And the way to be successful in your business is by adding systems, processes, and aligning with good folks. And that can even be just something like Brian's a great guy. We have a lot more in common, ethos and value wise, than we don't have in common. Some Maya Angelou quote stuff in there, kind of. And so aligning with people could just be doing like, hey man, let's do an interview swap.
This is an hour long. This is gonna be an hour-long piece of content that'll be in the group, that can go on Facebook, that we can chop up if we want and put on different platforms. Yeah. And it's as simple as that. We didn't do anything other than just have a real conversation here today.
Yeah, and absolutely. And Brian, will you please send me the copy of this, because this has been a great conversation today.
Of course, absolutely.
And so this is just the logistics of our thing. Like as Brian said before, we're starting this coming Monday on October 26th. We're doing it at 2 p.m. Eastern because of all of our market research, and because obviously Evan and Huge are in Hong Kong, so we have a pretty big audience in Australasia, and because we're on Facebook, we've got a pretty big worldwide audience, and we've got this beautiful, eclectic, diverse group, just like Brian has here in this community. Replays will be available, and it's basically taking place in our Facebook group, the Affiliate Family Facebook group, and I know that Brian has got details that he can share with y'all. So that's absolutely pretty much it, man. I didn't speak too fast, did I? Because that was the fastest I've done this.
No, that was great. That was perfect. And it's just really cool to see it laid out in a 5-step framework. And I'll let you go here in just a minute, because I know you have things to do, but I just kind of want to bring it all around to what the narrative that the people in my group are familiar with. And that is, when I talk about people joining Legendary Marketer and taking part of their education, whether that be the Business Builder Challenge or going further than that, versus coming into my group and watching my YouTube channels and stuff like that, those trainings complement each other. One or the other is not going to be as powerful as getting that training that complements each other, and that way you can kind of really start. I don't want to say this because I don't want it to sound condescending, but then you can start thinking for yourself once you have the tools, and that's when success really kicks off. So I think, the folks in this group who want to go to brianbrewer.com/workshop, get in with y'all and kind of really start to figure out another piece of the puzzle. I think your training, this 5-day workshop, is going to complement my training, legendary marketer, everything just perfectly. So I know I'll be there.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. And so I think it's about congruence and alignment. And so if you have an offer stack and they're not congruent, it ain't going to make sense. If you aren't in alignment and congruent with folks that like we're doing like a little like JV venture, it ain't going to work. And then also too, there's one more point I had to, but it's escaping me right now. But basically, okay. So this is the thing. It's basically like most marketers, especially like course creators and coaches, in their marketing or in their things that they're providing, they're going to teach you what to do, not how to do it. And you need to put like skin in the game, because when you put money on the table, that holds you accountable. And this is what I tell the folks, like, hey, get over the sales thing, because y'all bought our program, so you should feel comfortable selling it if we are providing you the like sufficient amount of value. So if we ain't, tell us so we can. And then also too, like start to have the mind shift of like, the most value you can provide somebody is that if your offer is a good fit for them and is in alignment and congruent with their hopes and dreams and desires, is to get them to put money in the game, because that holds you accountable.
Absolutely. Because the worst thing, we alluded to it earlier, the worst thing you do is bounce around from thing to thing to thing. Whereas when you do put that money in, when you commit to something, when you commit to learning a process that everything, even if it's more than one program or more than one piece of a program, when that all lines up and you commit to it, that's when you're going to start seeing results. That's when you're going to start moving forward. So Alexander, I mean, of course, if you have anything else you want to share, feel free. But I want to thank you very much for coming in and sharing really your views and your story and your expertise with the group here. This replay will be available in the group. I'll shoot a replay to you as well, so you can share this with your audience. But I just want to say thank you so much. And if you watch this, if you saw this, if you have any questions, leave them down below in the comments, and we can follow up with Alexander via Messenger later, and I'll get those back to you. And beyond that,
just tag me in the comments too, guys. I've been in Brian's group for a long time.
He has been, yep.
And so the last thought I was going to share was, guys, Brian is a fantastic person. He knows this stuff. Y'all listen to him. So he knows what he's talking about, and he's got your best intentions at heart. And
I've been doing this a long time. I think everybody knows that I've been doing this for 8 years now. I wouldn't bring Alexander in. I wouldn't bring you in if I didn't trust in what you have to say. So I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thanks, man. I appreciate you having me. Y'all have a nice day.
All right. Bye now. Thanks, everybody. We'll see y'all soon.